Today is the 27th of September 2025, and it's the 201st session of Mindfulness for Beginners in English, conducted by Nissarana Vanaya. And this morning I would like to welcome Venerable Omagama Dhamma Kusala Thero for the session from all the way from Nissarana Vanaya. We would also like to welcome everyone who's joining this morning on Zoom with us, and also via the YouTube live streams, and anybody who will be downloading this to us later. So our program will commence as usual with the in-session practice of mindfulness meditation guided by Venerable Dhamma Kusala Thero. Then we will move on to the talk on today's topic, which is what killed the frog in boiling water. Sounds interesting. And then finally we will be moving to the Q&A and reports from our listeners. And obviously we will get the guidance by our Venerable Dhamma Kusala Thero once again. So to begin today's session, let me invite Venerable Dhamma Kusala Thero once again to start the in-session practice of mindfulness.
Thanks, Thero. Hello everyone. So in order to start today's session, let's do a walking session, mindful walking. Now I think most of you are already familiar about the mindful walking practice. But anyway, if there is a newcomer, I'll give you some guidance. Now for this, we select a space where we can walk in a comfortable manner. Maybe a space probably like 10-15 steps, at least that type of a space. Once you have selected your space, you start walking back and forth. And while walking, you try to keep your attention with the steps. Notice the texture, temperature of the ground. Notice the pressure points of your feet. That way we try to stay with the steps and we try to walk. And time to time we get distracted, our attention goes to other things. That's okay, that's natural. After realizing that you have gotten distracted, you can gently return your attention back to the steps. Again, try to take at least like 3-4 mindful steps. Time after time you get distracted, but you can catch it and you can return to your steps time after time. That's the whole idea. So let's join a mindful walking session. And when you hear the bell sound, you can return back to your seats. Okay, everyone. So that's our time to do a mindful walking session today. With that, you can return back to your seats. Tarindu, you can take over.
Thank you very much, Swaminathan. I hope everybody with the mindful walking session, and you can present your experiences. You can share your experiences with Venerable Swaminathan during the Q&A session. Just a quick reminder. Right, with that, we are moving on to the next segment, and that is the talk based on the topic of this week. Topic for this week, which is what killed the frog in boiling water. What killed the frog in boiling water? So I would like to invite once again Venerable Dhamma Kusala Thero for the Dhamma talk.
Thanks, Tarindu. Hello, everyone. So I think we are starting with a fresh topic, and we can take some time to discuss this particular topic that we have selected. Now, this one, let's say, in your lives, you might have to make certain decisions. And these decisions are important for you. Certain family decisions you have to make, certain work-related decisions, maybe even spiritual decisions. So this way, we tend to make certain decisions. And the most important thing is that you pick the proper timing for these decisions. If you are too early, then that might not be good. If you are too late to make a decision, then the opportunity might be no longer there. Right? So this way, it is important that we make decisions, but it's important that we pick the proper timing. That's true. So in our lives, usually we are comfortable in the known place. We feel comfortable with our known surrounding. We feel comfortable with our known people. And whatever the things we do, usually we do known things. Even the thoughts, you are comfortable thinking the usual thoughts, known thoughts. So this way, we live in a certain comfort zone. In that comfort zone, we feel comfortable, we feel safe, and you dare not cross that comfort zone. That's the usual feeling. Let's say among the people that are known to us, we feel comfortable. Among strangers, we feel anxious. In an environment that is known to us, we feel comfortable. In a strange environment, we feel anxious. Same goes for the other things, and even the thoughts. We are comfortable thinking the known thoughts. If some thought is strange to us, we don't feel good with it. Right? So this way, we are in a comfort zone, and probably that very comfort zone can become a trap. Sometimes we get into, let's say, certain relationships, and we become comfortable with the other person. And sometimes, although the relationship turns toxic, we decide to stay in it. We don't feel like, going away from this comfort zone. In a way, we are cornered in our own comfort zone. Right? Same goes for certain activities related to your jobs. Maybe you are doing the same old job for 20 years or so. And you know that there are good opportunities out there, but you still dare not to cross this comfort zone. You dare not to leave this comfort zone. Right? So this way, let it be in our relationships, let it be in our professions, even in our spiritual practice. We prefer being in the known place. For eons, we have been in the known place and we prefer continuing that. But let's say if you are invited for meditation, then most people, they prefer denying that very opportunity because they don't want to go away from the comfortable place that they are in. Right? So that comfortable place might be full of suffering, but still they prefer living in that. So this way, let it be our work, let it be our relationships, or let it be our spiritual life, we get stuck or we are cornered into a comfortable place, and though it might be a lot of stress, though it might be a lot of suffering, we don't know what else to do. We don't think that we have the ability to go to a new place, go to a new environment, go to a new relationship. So that way we get stuck in a certain place. Right? So those type of issues are there in our life, whether it's come to relationships, whether it comes to work, or whether it's come to our spiritual life. We are stuck in this known place. No matter how hard it is, no matter how difficult it is, we prefer staying in this known place. Right? That said, we can come to today's idea. This is more like a thought experiment, and it talks about indecisiveness. Your inability to make a decision at the correct time. Right? So this thought experiment or this metaphor goes with a frog that is in a boiling pot. And the frog starts being there. Initially, the water is cool and frog is comfortable there. But little by little, let's say somebody starts giving heat to this pot, and gradually the water temperature increases. And the frog, being very sensitive, it feels the difference in water temperature, and initially frog thinks or takes its time. I'll jump if the water temperature goes higher. Current temperature I can manage. So it adjusts itself to the new temperature. Again, let's say another degree increases. Again, the frog thinks, I'll jump if it goes even higher. For the current temperature, I can adjust. Again, adjusted its body temperature according to that. So this way, little by little, the water temperature increases, and the frog, thinking it'll jump in the next time, adjust its body temperature. So this way it goes, and at a certain point, now the temperature is unbearable, but the frog has wasted so much of energy adjusting to the increased temperature and no longer have the energy to jump out of the pot, right? And it says the frog boils in the pot. So this is the metaphor that's given for this idea of indecisiveness. And it asks what killed the frog in boiling water. What killed the frog in boiling water? Some people would say the person who had turned on the stove, increasing the temperature, that's the one who is responsible for killing the frog. Some people would say it's the increasing temperature that killed it. But this particular idea, this metaphor, it talks about the real reason behind the death. The real reason is that indecisiveness. The frog kept postponing the jump, thinking that it will jump in the next moment, kept adjusting itself to the increasing temperature. And that very indecisiveness killed the frog, right? That's the metaphor, right? So in our lives, we too do this. Let's say in relationships, at work, or even in our spiritual life, we keep postponing things, thinking that we'll do something about it if it gets worse, right? And little by little, you adjust yourself to the difficulty, and when it reach to a moment where it is unbearable, you no longer have the energy to make that change. You are cornered in that known place. You are trapped in that known place, right? So this happens. Most of the relationships, initially they are fun, but gradually they become toxic. And since you are comfortable there, you don't feel like changing this. You don't feel like you have the energy for this, right? Gradually, it becomes a trap. Even the work that you do, sometimes you feel that this is not proper for me. You know that there are better opportunities out there, but somehow you keep postponing, make it that decision. Same goes for spirituality. When it comes to a retreat, let's say a residential retreat, maybe like 100 people register, and probably the day before the retreat, many people call and they cancel. They say, I have this matter that I have to attend to, so I can't make it this time. I'll definitely come for the next year's retreat, they will say. Yes. Otherwise, they'll say, I have to attend to this family matter. I have to take care of my children, so I can't make it this year. So that way, even spiritual practice, we prefer postponing it. We say, I'll do tomorrow, right? So that type of a indecisiveness is there. And usually what happens is that we feel comfortable in the known place. And making a decision to go to a new place, that feels like a threat. We don't feel comfortable with that type of a change. So we dare not change the current environment. And without you even knowing, maybe after a few years, you get trapped. Once you are trapped, you don't have the energy to make that decision. And simply you stay there for the rest of your life, right? So that way, in our lives also, we feel that this indecisiveness sometimes takes the toll on us, right? So that's the very topic that we have selected for this time. And the important thing is that you might be in a known place. I'm sure you feel comfortable there, whether it comes to your family matters, whether it comes to your work, or whether it comes to spirituality. You feel comfortable in this known place. But maybe there's an invitation for you to explore the unknown. There's an invitation for you to go towards the unknown. But are we ready to accept that invitation? How are we postponing that very invitation, telling that I'll do it tomorrow? Right? So nobody else can tell you whether to make that decision or not. Nobody else can tell you when you should be making that decision. Right? You yourself knows best. And you yourself will have to decide whether to make that decision and when to make that decision. That very decision, even your life might be dependent on it. Even your whole spiritual life might be dependent on it. Even your emotional health might be dependent on it. So that way, it is important that we get to know about these things, become more aware, and it is important that we make the correct decision at the right time. We are in a known place, but we have to go towards the unknown. That very invitation is there in most of the opportunities. Even in the spiritual life, meditation, it means leaving the known place and going to unknown. They say meditation, it's a journey from known to unknown. But are we taking that challenge? Most people, when they come to a retreat, they ask so many questions. They ask, Bhante, do you have health insurance over there? Or do you have readily available medicine if I get some disease? Right? Do you have safety over there? Are there snakes in the forest? So these type of questions come. They want to make sure that they are secured. They want to make sure that they are insured. Right? So those type of questions come. But you have to understand this whole journey about meditation, it is going from known to unknown. Going from a secure location to probably insecure location. Right? We don't know what's there in the unknown. So we are always taking a risk. Right? That very risk, you have to make a decision to take it. Otherwise, we keep postponing it till our deathbed. We say we'll do it tomorrow. Right? So we are always taking a challenge, taking a risk when we take on meditative practice. It's a journey. It's a journey from known to unknown. And we don't feel doing that. We don't feel comfortable. But anyway, we do it. That's the very idea. And when it comes to effort, Buddha talks about 3 types of effort. The initial type is, initial effort, of course. Starting something, initial effort, going to a retreat, right? So that's very indecisiveness that we talked about. We have to make a decision and we have to stick to it. We have to put certain effort towards it. And as a result, you may go to a retreat. Or you may sit in meditation. Right? So that is initial effort. That effort is important. Right? But when you start your spiritual journey, when you start a meditation retreat, or when you sit in meditation, although that initial effort is important, then probably a different type of effort is needed for you to continue that very practice, for you to continue that very retreat, right? So the second type of effort is identified as probably sustained effort. You start something and you somehow continue with it. You sit in meditation, although there's this influence in your mind to get up, you continue your sitting practice. You go to a retreat after a couple of days, you have so many reasons to go back home, but you somehow stay. So that second type of effort is identified as sustained effort. That is also important. Most people, they start many things, but they don't have the energy or the effort to continue that very task. They start a business, but they don't continue with it. They sit in meditation, within 10-15 minutes, they get up. They go to a retreat, they leave after a couple of days. So this sustained effort is also important. And the final type of effort is, it is identified probably as persistent effort. Sticking with something till you complete it. So that is more maybe like even a different type of effort. Even let's say you sit in meditation, initial effort is there, you sat down, you closed your eyes. Maybe after 10-20 minutes, you get into that second level of effort, which is sustained. You are able to continue your practice without getting up. And maybe like 40 minutes into the sitting session, you can experience this persistent effort. Now, it simply continues and you don't feel like getting up, you don't feel like continuing, but somehow you go with the flow. So that type of effort comes towards the final phase, which is like third type. Or you go into a retreat and towards the end of the retreat, you feel like you can continue even for a longer time, right? That energy or the effort is not so high, but somehow you have the ability to continue. Then even in other things, we can feel this third type as well, right? So this way, it talks about 3 types of effort. You start something, you sustain it, and towards the end of it, you don't care what happens, you somehow go with it till you complete it, right? So all these 3 types of effort are discussed simply to make a decision and to stick with it. That's the very idea. So this whole journey, it takes us from the known place to the unknown place. We are in this known place. We do the same actions, we speak the same words, we even think the same thoughts. This known place, that is where we are in. But meditation, it takes you towards the unknown. And when you go towards the unknown, it's natural that you don't feel comfortable in that process. You're comfortable only in the known place. When you do the practice, when you continue the practice, you don't feel comfortable when it takes you towards the unknown. right? Even the thoughts, let's say we are comfortable with our known thoughts, the familiar thoughts, but something strange, some thought that feels strange, weird, we don't feel comfortable there, right? Probably death reflection would be a good example. Reflecting on your own death, we don't feel comfortable there. Death, we are fearful and we dare not think about it. Even your own death you can somehow deal with, but death of a family member, you can't even imagine how that would be. That thought might be so disturbing for you, right? So these type of things we dare not touch. These type of things we don't feel comfortable. But this whole practice is simply to see the reality of this world. You never know when death will come to you. That assurance is not there. You don't know when it will come. The whole thing is uncertain. Uncertainty is there. Sometimes it might be after a few decades. Sometimes it might be tomorrow. You don't know, right? So when that comes, if we are not ready, then what will happen is that very news will take us by surprise, and that very news will destroy us. Even hearing that will destroy us, right? Some people they scream, some people they cry, some people they ask for help. That way most people face those type of situations. I met someone probably like few weeks ago, and that lady, she wanted to do an offering, and after offering that, her husband was telling that, Bante, my wife, she's sick. She's sick with cancer, he was telling. So I asked about the history, and they were telling probably like 4 years ago, the initial cancer, her breast cancer came, then the breast was removed, then after few months, a lung cancer came, then while they were treating that, the cancer cells were gone to her blood. So you can see 3 types of cancer within 4 years. So what to tell them? Right? So I told her, don't think about sickness too much. It's better if you can do something like walking meditation. Instead of worrying about the sickness, being at home alone. Right? So then that lady was saying, Bante, sickness I can manage. Sickness I don't think about it much. But I have a bigger problem. So I was wondering what could be a bigger problem than this one. And she was telling, my son, 20 years old, and he is addicted to crystal meth. Right? So that lady, she had no relief in any area of her life. Sick with 3 cancers, then the son addicted to crystal meth. So that's the life, that's reality. Right? So at the moment we might be comfortable, but we don't know when such a disaster might appear in our own life. So these thoughts even, these ideas even, some people say they are negative. They will suck out the positivity in your life. So you shouldn't be thinking about these things. But this is the utter reality of this life. We are uncertain about it. We don't know when sickness will appear. We don't know when death will appear. We don't know when other disaster might appear. Right? So that very uncertainty helps us to do something about it. When the Buddha's very advice is to meditate while the going is good. His very advice is to meditate before the death appears. His very advice is to meditate while you are healthy. Right? So that very advice will take us from the known place to the unknown. In a way, death is more like unknown. Right? And we are in this known place. And when someone dies, they are no longer in this known place. Let's say they go to some kind of an unknown place. Right? So that very journey, we become fearful. Why? We don't know this unknown place. We don't know where we will be taken. We prefer staying in that comfortable known place. But this whole journey of meditation is simply to take you from the known to unknown. It is simply to die before you die. Before the actual death comes, you die in your own practice. That's the whole idea. Before the unknown comes looking for you, you goes to the unknown through the meditation. Right? So that very journey, although it might be tiring, you have to start on it and you have to continue, and one day you'll somehow have to complete it as well. All those initial sustained and persistent effort is needed. And if you are able to complete it within this life itself, then you no longer have to worry about death. There are so many stories about enlightened beings, and before the death appears, they completed their practice. As a result, there is nothing more to die. They don't have to worry about the idea of death, the cessation of this body, that they don't have to worry about, because they have gone to that unknown place well before, while they were young, while they were healthy, and the thought of death no longer worries them. Right? So that's the whole idea. You have to make a decision. You have to make a decision about your mental health. You have to make a decision about spirituality. And you have to make it at the right time. If you wait too late, then your body might not support that very decision. If you don't make that decision, then you are in this known place, and one day you'll have to face that reality. Right? So it's all about making a decision at the right time and somehow continue to complete that decision. And some people, they prefer being a monk or a nun. They keep postponing it. They ask as advice from everybody, when I should become a monk, what should I do? All those questions are there. And when you hear that very question, that is a sign that they are not ready. They want somebody else's decision for the most important decision of their life. They wait for the perfect timing for the most important decision of their life. Right? So that way they keep postponing, and one day it will be too late for them. Right? So these things, if you are really doing it, then you have to do it on your own timing. You have to make that very decision when it is right. Nobody else can do that decision for you. Nobody else can pick that timing for you. Right? So that very risk we have to take if we are willing to go that path. If we are not, then even in our comfortable place, we might be trapped in one day. We might get into a trap in our own comfortable place. Right? So that's the very idea. This topic, it's about indecisiveness, and it talks with this metaphor, the metaphor of the boiling frog. And it asks about what killed the frog in boiling water. The very indecisiveness to make a decision. That is what killed the frog in boiling water. I think that's enough for today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Swami Nuhansa, for that wonderful Dhamma talk. So with that, we are going on to the Q&A session and the reports. So I would like to invite Samantha to conduct that session today. Samantha, over to you.
Thank you, Tharendra. And thank you, Bhante. That was an amazing talk. I was really inquisitive to know what killed the frog. And now I know, and those three words just stuck in my mind. I will remember it now. Start, sustaining, and persistent. That's a really encouraging and valuable lesson. Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So before we actually, there are three questions that we received regarding the practice from three people. But before I go on to reading the reports, Bhante, I would like to just remind any newcomers. I'm sure we all know now what to do, but just a brief summary to any newcomers just on the program. The basic guidance on how to practice Tharendra will put in the chat soon on how to meditate, and then submit your experiences to Bhante for advice, valuable advice, how to actually write the report, and then Bhante will give advice at the sessions based on your report and how to progress. There will also be in the link Tharendra will put later on 2 helpful videos put together by Nissarana, Vanaya, and about how to do mindful walking and how to do mindful sitting. Explains that you can allocate some time for the practice daily, starting with walking as we did today, for example, and then sitting, and then gradually building up to, say, 2 hours per day. So I think today's talk certainly gave a sense of urgency as well to the practice. So that's a real blessing. Then please submit your experiences in writing, both mindful walking and sitting, to Bhante and Orbit Venerable in any session. And for example, there's an example put in the chat how to do this. Say if you were walking, you can describe the prominent sensations, how the textures, how you felt the texture of the ground, any pressure points on the sole, and how the body weight shifted. Similarly, in sitting meditation, again, you can refer to any prominent sensations, incoming and outgoing breath at the nostrils, if you're doing all breath meditation, and or the rising of the and falling of the abdomen. And also, mindfulness is also important, obviously, not just on the cushion, but during the daily activities during the day. So being mindful throughout the day as much as possible. And then in the session, Bhante or Bhikkhuni Rohini will give valuable guidance for your own practice based on your report and how to progress in your meditation. And you can send these reports, as in the chat, that will be put later on in Google form, or by emailing using the provided link, email link in the chat. So it's a good opportunity to get personal guidance from both Bhante or Venerable Rohini on your meditation progress and individual reports, that can be addressed, and continue with your mindful practice according to the advice given for your own report. So do make use of this opportunity. And finally, the recordings of the sessions will be available in the link given in the chat. So if you wish to go through it. So now, I'll go on to read on the reports that we have received. By all means, if you have any questions on the talk or in your own practice, do ask Bhante and after the question at the question and answer session. Avasarai Bhante, I will read the first report, which was received by an adult. So the first one is on mindful walking. The person says, walked outside on the way to work. Feet movements slow at first and soon gathered momentum. Felt different sensations throughout the body, some firmer, others lighter. Feet movements slowed when nearing the crossing. Body weight was more on left foot while waiting to cross the street. Feet movements quickened while crossing, and noted the slightly agitated mind wanting to see when the next train would be. Walked for 25 minutes. Mindful sitting. Sat on the train and closed eyes. After a quick body scan, the position was adjusted. Background noise was distracting. When breath noted, it was prominent. Some breaths shorter, others longer. Attention moved to body swaying with movement of train. Breath was harder to notice. Thoughts floated around with no interest in proliferating. Sleepiness noted, followed by prominent breath. Eyes opened with loud message announcing next station. but was able to return to noticing breath again. Sat for 35 minutes. Mindfulness during the day. Packing to go on a few weeks holiday this Saturday, and it was amusing to note that everything going into bags are for the benefit of the body. There was nothing whatsoever being packed for the benefit of the mind. What an imbalance. A few weeks ago, a few European airports were brought to a standstill due to a check-in systems being hacked. Family members were agitated about upcoming trip, if we all be okay, and if all will be okay. Did not feel the same because mind was calmer. Either the trip will take place or it will not. If it does, then it's fine. If not, then that is fine too, as being off work for 3 weeks means many opportunities to practice Dhamma. An opportunity for an impromptu retreat at home. So far, so good. Then the changing nature of the mind noticed. An email message in simple English was misunderstood. Then asked for clarification and receiving same, noticed how the mind had grasped onto past data and reconstructed the old pattern again. Language was clear, clarification was clear, but realized one sentence had triggered old memories. Luckily, there was enough mindfulness to not react and to recognize that was not what the email intended. Hopefully, the lesson shall be learned, not to believe everything that the mind brings up without investigation. Dear Bhante, look forward to your valuable feedback and immense gratitude for the practical guidance. Thero Saranai. That's the end of the first report, Bhante.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. Now I'll start at the end. Now think about that very situation. A sentence written on an email, it triggered an old memory and created this whole imaginary or some kind of a delusion in our mind. So this is happening time after time, and this is how our minds work. It is not experiencing the reality. Instead, it's a combination of reality versus delusions. Right? We might have past trauma, and due to that, our present experience or present reality is spoiled, and we get into trouble with other people, maybe due to our own delusions in the mind. You get triggered by a different person because you have past trauma related to that matter. Somebody talks to you and uses a word, and that very word create some kind of a reaction in you. Right? So this way, it is not the reality that we are experiencing. It's a combination of reality versus delusions in our mind. And these delusions, they chase us like a shadow and creating this kind of a dark kind of a shadow and ruining most of our present moment. That's how it is. Let's say Carl Jung, he refers to this as shadow. If you research shadow work by Carl Jung, he talks about this shadow of past trauma, and this shadow is traveling with us, ruining our present moment. Right? So this very experience that you have gone through, a single sentence in an email changed the whole situation, right? Due to that past trauma or the shadow that comes after you, right? So that's more like a baggage in our mind or a shadow in our mind, and it is influencing the present moment. We don't get to experience the wholesomeness or the freshness of the present moment due to these past shadows, right? So what can we do? The only thing is that become aware of these delusional states. Become aware of the past trauma and how it is influencing the present moment. Become aware of the shadow and how it is destroying the opportunity that is given in the moment, right? So that's what you have done. You became aware of that very response or the reaction that triggered in you, right? So that very awareness we can practice. Sometimes we can catch them. Sometimes we don't catch them. That's fine. We try to continue our very awareness. And we don't have to give so much weight to the thoughts, ideas, opinions. These things are overrated. And we are able to experience the present moment, and we have the potential to deal with it. We don't need so much thinking. We don't need so many opinions. We simply can be in the present, and that very present moment we can handle. Like you say in your report, if it works, it works. Otherwise, it will be a 3-week vacation at home. I think it would be much more relaxing than traveling for 3 weeks, right? So whatever happens, it happens for the best. And when you are more present, you can accept that very reality. Most people, they are lost in their minds, lost in their illusions, and that's why they struggle with the reality or the present moment, right? So that's the whole idea. And in your report, you said that everything that goes into the baggage, they are for the benefit of the body, clothes, other things, everything that goes into the bag, they are for the benefit of the body. But we are taking the very body with us now. That body can be for the benefit of the mind. As long as you stay with a bodily sensation, that very body can benefit your mind. That very body can help you to be in the present moment, right? So traveling in a train, walking to the station, or going on a trip abroad, all these things, we try to anchor our attention towards the body. You don't have to force it. Naturally, you start to feel the body more and more. That very attention, that very bodily awareness can become your lifeline for the mind, right? So wherever we go, even when we forget the baggage, we go with our body. We don't forget that. So that very body, paying attention to bodily sensations, could become something that benefits your mind. So that's the idea I get. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Bhante. That was a valuable reminder, bodily awareness, attention. The next question, Bhante, report rather, is by another adult. Thero Saranai Bhante, it is known that a fading thing is used for expressing ideas in a report. Observed below. 1. There was some patterns which try to be more clean, especially after COVID. With the practice, it is reduced, and the reasons can be seen how these mind patterns work. There was fear-like thing based on this can happen, or this is needed to be this way. With the practice, it showed the fear arose from same place while making two parties. Example like when something is touched, a need to wash hands arose in a commanding way. If it is not followed, then it tries to bring reasons. It is like one condition is made and then based on that already made condition, a reasoning happen. Another example is regarding what is believed on people. One day it says he or she is good, and if any unpleasant thing happens between that person, it says no, early idea is wrong. It says no, early idea is wrong, and that person is not good as thought. Same way, once it instructs to do so, and after acting according to the command, it asks, why did you do so? So the person gets in a guilty trap. With the guidance, it was giving clarity to see how these patterns fools one, including the one writing. It is like asking from a thief's mother, where son ran. Gradually, with the practice, things are noticed as fading away, and from a distance. Their forces are reduced. It doesn't mean all vanished. Some are there, like in background, and sometimes it is noticed in blur mode. Number 2, in the practice, it was noticed that time to time arose a tiredness with not accepting what is already there, but it revealed that also came via a fading thing. Then it vanished for a while. Example like, it is better to be in that way, but not this. That sentence also fades away. Via fading, think another fading thing is checking like. Accepting as it is just arose as the solution when it faces such. Thero Saranai Bante. That's the end of the report, second report, Bante.
Yes, so all these things, what is important is you to observe, you to become aware about these tendencies. Now, COVID, that very period, that very fear created a lot of compulsive actions in us. Earlier, we have been touching our face for many times, every minute or so. And due to COVID, you get this fear, and without you even knowing, this compulsive need to touch your face, and in the same time, compulsive need to, be safe, right? So there is this struggle, and if you touch your face without knowing it, then that very realization can create a whole new mess, right? So this way, these new regulations, new experiences, or in new world, it is creating so many compulsive actions, thoughts, things like that. Otherwise, they are triggering our OCDs, obsessive compulsive disorder, right? I have seen this nature documentary, and that's about a bird that maintains a tree that is full of nuts, right? During the season, during the summer, this bird collects nuts, probably like few thousand nuts, and it hides them in the holes of that tree. So the bird, it has digged many holes on a tree, and in each and every hole there's a nut that will be used in winter probably, right? So this bird is maintaining this nut tree, and when the nuts are drying, they become smaller in size. So the bird will have to replace that very nut into a smaller hole, right? So the maintaining this whole tree, the entire job of that bird. And the documentary says this is good for a bird with compulsive tendencies, right? A bird with compulsive tendencies to maintain a nut tree. Yes. So even with animals, these tendencies are there. Some of them have compulsive tendencies. Even us, some of us are really suffering with them. Some of us can manage, and some people, they don't even care about these things, right? Some people, they don't wash their hands. They don't get triggered with that, right? They don't care about, they didn't even care about COVID, right? So that way, it's our minds, right? Sometimes we could be more aligned towards it. Sometimes we are not, right? So whatever we have, it's good to notice these things. That's the very idea. Become aware. And these tendencies, they have a history. Maybe they are developed within few decades. Maybe they are developed after a certain period like COVID, right? So still we are carrying them, still we are suffering due to them. And when we don't act on those compulsive needs or activities, then we become fearful. We get these obsessions in our mind. I met someone, the child was like, I think, 11 years old, a boy, and his mother was saying, Bante is trying all these rituals. He is, bowing to Buddha 20 or 30 times a day. And the reasoning is he gets these intrusive thoughts and he feels guilty about those thoughts. And in order to escape from that guilt, he tries these rituals. So the obsessions are there. In order to get rid of those obsessions, the compulsive tendencies appear, right? So many people, they have such things, and some people, they have stronger tendencies. Some people, they are not bothered by them that much, right? So whatever it is, we have to deal with it. Sometimes they have a history, so it takes time for them to reduce in power. And sometimes it feels too friction to stop them, right? So what you can do is simply become aware. Become aware of the fear and become aware of the action or the compulsions driven by that fear, right? That very awareness, if you practice, I'm sure after some time, maybe after a few months, few years, you realize now they are no longer so powerful. They have reduced in power, right? So that's the very idea of awareness. No matter what is happening, if you can become aware, that very awareness will protect us. You can't see the protection of that awareness right away, but with time you get to see it, right? So you don't have to do anything about it. Simply continue your observation. That's the very advice. Don't try to change them. Don't try to make yourself go crazy with them. Instead, simply notice how these patterns work. Simply notice how these fears create certain compulsions. Simply notice how our opinions of other people influence the present experience. See how a person we perceive as good, how we react to their suggestions, their things, and a person we perceive as bad, how we react to their things, their suggestions. So this way, all of us, we have different tendencies. The very idea of the practice is simply to become aware. Don't try to suppress them, simply let them continue as they are and become aware. That very awareness will protect you.
Thank you, Bhante. So the last, the third report, I noticed the time is nearly 10. Is it okay, Bhante? Shall I carry on reading it?
That's fine. We'll finish this one as a...
Yeah, thank you, Bhante. Venerable Swamin Mahansa, mindful walking, observed sensations under feet, labeling feet as left and right, felt the hardness and roughness of the floor. Thoughts conquered the mind, roughness drew the attention, very frequently heard a song. Mind said, "Isn't it nice to listen to that song and dance a bit now?" Actually, I didn't do that. The song ended, and so did my thought related to it. Mind changes rapidly. I noticed that time to time, angry thoughts arise. I converted them to happy thoughts at the spot. It was more like a game. Mindful sitting. Sat and listened to sounds, then observed motion in the belly. Thoughts streamed, focused on posture, felt the hardness and softness of the cushion, kept palm on belly and counted motions, could count up to 6. That's the end of the report. Teruvan Saranai, Utum Swamin Mahansa. That's all the report, end of the report, Bhante.
Yes, so it's a good idea to do that. Dance a bit for this song, right? So that way it's good to, keep your body active, keep your body exercised. Those things are important. Most people, they go into mental distresses because they lack enough exercise or they don't work out. And that very laziness in the body can manifest as a mental distress, right? So all of us, we should be, exercising our bodies, whatever the way you prefer. Some people, they prefer dancing. Some people, they prefer yoga. Some people, they run. Whatever it is important that you properly exercise your body. You have to sweat a lot. Every other day or so, at least for 1 hour, you sweat a whole lot. That very support will help you to get rid of majority of the mental distresses. Even especially the yogis, practitioners, or the monks, nuns, we see them, they are very lazy towards, exercising their bodies. They don't like to even help out with the duties here, right? And as a result, they go into mental distresses. If you can exercise your body, if you can work out, then most of the energy is released, and as a result, you feel comfortable in your mind. After a workout, all of us, we feel comfortable in our minds. Probably body is tired, but the mind is comfortable. So it's a good habit to create some routine for your exercising. And every day or every other day, at least for like 45 minutes, 1 hour, you have to sweat your body. That very support will make your mind even more peaceful. So try and see, maybe dancing would be the best option.
Thank you, Bante. That was valuable advice. Thank you. Now it's just after 10, so I'll give the mic back to Tarunda. Thank you, to end the session. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bante, and thank you, Samantha, for conducting the Q&A session and the reports. So yes, with that we have come to the end of today's program. So I would like to thank Venerable Dhamma Kusala Thero on behalf of the organizers for the continued guidance, and not forgetting the Chief Abbot of Nissarana, Most Venerable Udirigama Dhamma Jiva Maha Thero, for initiating this program. May these merits help them in improving their own practices. And thank you very much to everyone who took part in today's program on Zoom and via live stream on YouTube. And I would like to make a special thank you to all the organizers who are working tirelessly behind the scenes to bring this program to you every Saturday. So with that, I would like to end the program and want to wish you a happy mindful week ahead. Thank you. Until we see you again next Saturday.